I think a lot of us have been in that position over the kind of last few weeks. Do I start the gym or do I go back to playing golf? What we're going to do is we're going to implement the gym and the golf kind of aspect within the same kind of golf tip. So if you've got one of these in your house, grab it if you've ever used it before, because these are quite heavy if you're not that strong to lift them. So why don't we start using these so we can develop the sense of how to square the club face up and generally how to hit the ball towards our intended target. So we see a lot of golfers, so if I was to kind of trade the weight for the golf club, I see a lot of golfers who, let's say, are struggling with their iron shots. And what I mean by struggling with their iron shots, if you watch the club head and grip relationship kind of thing, we see a lot of golfers who the club head comes into the impact position. The tendency is, I covered this in a previous tip last week, the club head overtakes the hands, and from that position we get a little loft at impact. This lead wrist gets in a cut position, so it's almost in that position. And the loft on the clubs actually point towards the sky. We create a lot of thin shots, a lot of chunk shots, because we're not actually compressing the golf ball. So remember, if we compress the golf ball, we're going to take a slight divot after impact. A lot of golfers try and have the ball up in there. It's kind of the club it's ricocheting off the ground, and we don't create much of a divot. So biggest fault we see within golfers who are relatively new to the game or an experienced golfer, but they're just kind of needing a refresher or something to get them going so they can create a little bit more compression, a little bit more consistency within their irons. So tip number one, or let's say fault number one, we see is a lot of golfers will kind of help the ball up in there, the weight stays back the way my left shoulder gets higher, the club starts to work off the ground. And basically, so think it's a race between the club head and the hands. The club head wins the race, the hands stay back. So the hands are in, let's say the hands are in second position. So what we're going to do from there is we're going to train that other way. So if we get this lead wrist, so we get this lead wrist in cup position, flat position, or let's say board position, that affects the loft on the golf club and the club face alignment at impact. So let's say get a cup position, you watch a lot of golfers do who help the ball in there, we create a lot of loft. Flat position, club face square, depending on what type of grip you've got. And that, let's say a board position where that helps us deloft the club and helps us kind of create that compression that, let's say, every instructor out there kind of promotes and adheres to. But what we're going to do, if you go to the gym regularly, you can either take one from the gym or buy one, I don't know, off Amazon or something like that, and develop the kind of feel what you need to do within this week. So what we're going to do from there is we're going to try and get this lead wrist in a slightly board position. So think it back of the left wrist pointing towards the ground, right palm towards the ground. It's almost kind of in that position. That's going to help you create that desired compression. It's going to feel a little bit awkward, but let's kind of train this to help us develop the sensation. So grab a weight. What we're going to do from there is we're going to feel like we're going to take let's say the weight up to our right hip, and from there what we're going to do to square this weight up, we're going to feel like we square the weight up. So this 6 kg sign, it's actually heavier than that to make me look stronger, has to point down towards the ground, almost in that position. So what we're going to do from there is we're going to take the weight back, square the weight up, and we're going to do a bicep curl. So that bicep curl is allowing the club face to close. It's allowing us to create compression. If we get in a position where we cut this lead wrist, I'm not going to be very strong, and I'm almost going to feel it in my elbow. So what we're going to do, take the weight, top of the backswing with your right hand if you're not, and from there what we're going to do is we're going to try and take your right hand off, use our left hand only. We're going to feel like the back of the lead wrist turns down towards the ground, almost in that position. Right palm pointing towards the ground as well. So we're going to square the weight up, then we're going to do a bicep curl, almost in that position. Square the weight up, do the bicep curl. And as you can see there, this part of the weight, the club face, is actually going to close more for impact. It's going to create that de-lofted position that everyone kind of wants to adhere to. So club or weight, right hip, square the weight up, bow the lead wrist, think a right palm to the ground. That's going to square the weight up, that bone of the lead wrist. It's going to allow the club face to turn down slightly. It's going to allow us to kind of take a slight divot after impact. So I'm actually feeling that in my shoulder now. Just shows I've not been to the gym in a while. So left hand, square the weight up, bow the lead wrist. Then from that position, it's going to allow the club face to square close to the impact. It's going to allow you to create that compression. So remember, golfers, we need to train our golf swing inside. Just because the ranges are closed, it's important we kind of keep up with our practice indoors. So there's a couple of simple drills that you can use to hopefully develop your golf swing over the next kind of few weeks and keep you entertained over the